So for many years, I really struggled with a sense of accepting myself and struggled with my self-worth and confidence. And this caused me all sorts of worries and insecurities. And if I had to do anything in public, I'd be ill for like days before it, just kind of worrying about it. And I tried all sorts of things to fix it, and nothing worked until I discovered this really powerful idea that I'm going to share with you. And it didn't fix things just in an instant, but it gave me something to work on and to seep into my mindset and seep into my soul. But that was the root of changing everything for me, such that even now I'll get nervous in speaking in front of camera, but I'm able to do it. So if you struggle with a sense of self-worth, I'm going to share this with you and you're just going to love it. It's going to be so helpful. Welcome to A Little Nudge. If you're new here, my name is Derek, and for the last 3 decades I've been helping people grow in their faith and develop a faith. And in this channel I just make videos and give you tools and techniques to help you live a deeper and more meaningful life. So yeah, let's dive into how do we fix our self-worth issues. Now the usual advice, which doesn't, well, I'll tell you if it works or not in a minute. The usual advice is to engage in positive affirmations, where you say positive things to yourself, and these are either just big statements, you know, I'm confident, I'm strong, I can do this, or they're statements based on evidence. You say, well, you did this last time, you can do this time, this is what so-and-so says about you, so that means you can do it. And when I tried this idea of saying those positive things, identifying my strengths, my qualities, and saying things to me, 2 things happened. The first thing that happened is they helped a little bit for a while. They do have value, so I don't want to poo-poo them. They do have value, but they have limited value. And after experimenting with a lot of time, this is why they don't quite work as well as people say they do. Because we know that it's not the whole truth. So when I say I'm a really kind dad, you know, that is true to some degree, but my brain and my soul knows it's not the whole truth. They know the time that I've lost my temper, the time when I've been selfish with my kids. And any solution for our self-worth issues needs to deal with our darkness and our flaws as well as our strengths. And just suppressing it or pretending it's fine actually doesn't work, because our brain is not stupid. And the thing that really helped me, and it includes our dark side, the thing that helped me was a story that Jesus told. Now, Jesus tells this story because he gets into trouble with the powerful people of his day. I don't know how well you know the story of Jesus, but he spent a lot of his time with the broken, disadvantaged, the excluded people in society, the ones that kind of people look down on because of their lifestyle or profession or whatever it might be. And Jesus would spend a lot of time with them. And there's a story in Luke 15 where like the powerful people and the moral people and the religious people of the day are challenging Jesus about who he's spending their time with, because they look at those people and see their flaws or what's not quite right about them, and they define their worth around that. And Jesus tells this story to challenge them. He said, listen, he said, there was this woman and she had 10 coins. And Jesus said, and she lost one of the coins. And it reminds me of a story I heard about a widow called Joan Spears in Surrey in the UK. And Joan had been given a diamond ring by her husband just as he was dying. And it meant so much to him, and then he passed away. And then one day she had the diamond ring and she dropped it and it went down the toilet. And she was distraught and she was so desperate to get it back. She wanted people to go through the sewage tanks to find it. And she hired men and she hired companies, and they went through 12,000 gallons of sewage hunting out for this ring. And she even paid someone to go through the sewage tank with a metal detector. I would not want to be that guy. Because why? Because she was so desperate, not just because it was a ring, but it was a dying husband's ring, and it was so important to her. But they couldn't find it, no matter how much money she spent, no matter how much dirt and sludge people went through and other stuff, that they couldn't find it, and she was devastated. Anyway, the story goes that a couple of years later, one of the employees, he was going through some stuff and he saw something shining, and he looked and he saw that it was a ring, and he remembers the story of this widow desperate for her, and he went to her and to check if it was hers, and it was. And then he says it needed a bit of cleaning up, but she was really emotional about it. And that reminds me of like this story that Jesus is telling. He's saying this woman has lost her coin and she's desperate to get it back. So what does she do? She hunts all around her house and she's pulling things apart and she's looking under things because she wants to find it. And then the day that she finds it, she was so excited. She celebrates and she tells her friends and she tells her family. And the point of Jesus' story is this, that God is the woman and you are the coin. God is the woman and you are the coin. And when you look at that, like unpacks three powerful truths for us that changes everything around our self-esteem and how we feel about ourselves. And before I tell you what those three things are, it'd be fantastic if you could subscribe to my channel. If you click the bell, that means you'll be notified when I do new videos, which is twice a week. And if you could like it right now as well, that would be just appreciate that so much. It'd really help the channel grow. So Jesus pulls out three truths about this story and what it might mean for us. And they're all very surprising. Then the first truth is this, that we think we might be looking for God, but actually God's looking for us. If you're kind of on a spiritual journey, or sometimes we get a bit lost and we're like, what's life all about? I might try praying, or is there a God? I might read the Bible, or I might do a bit of research. We think that we are initiating the search, but what it says here, that anyone who's not connected to God, God is hunting for them, he's looking for them, he's searching for them. And so if you're right now wondering about the whole God thing and initiating some sort of thought, or maybe you start praying and you think you're initiating that and you're wondering, will God accept me? You know, if I come looking for him, I'm not really as good as other people. Actually, God is already looking for you because you're so valuable. If you're not part of a relationship with him, he is seeking you out because you are that valuable to him. And the second truth we pull out of that story, well, to talk about that one, we're going to need to move into the garden. So yeah, let's go. So some of us struggle with our self-worth when we've done something, or maybe there's an aspect of our character that's not very impressive, or the way that we look. But here's the amazing thing about God and his sense of his love and his value, that we're never a surprise to him. If something happens, or if a particular aspect of our character comes out, it's never a surprise to God. And it's not so much that he loves us that's amazing, but that he knows us and he still loves us, that he knows every aspect of us. He knows our good stuff and he knows our not so good and stuff. He even knows more bad things about us than we know ourselves, and yet he still loves us and he still values us. I've got a little bit of money here. It's a £10 note, maybe $7, $8. And how much is it worth? Well, it's worth $10, £10, $8, $7. I mean, what happens if I screw it up like that? How much is it worth now? It's still worth £10, isn't it? And I've got a bit of dirt here. I'm just going to stick it in the dirt. You can see it's all like covered in dirt. It's all a bit grimy now. And how much is it worth? It's still worth £10. Its value hasn't changed. Your value to God doesn't change because he's not surprised. He loves you. And that's the kind of crazy thing about him looking for us, him valuing us as a treasure, is because he still knows the darkest thing about us, and anything that we do or that happens to us doesn't change our worth because God already knew about it. Anyway, let's go back inside because the third one is even more exciting. Okay, so the truths we're looking at, we know that God is looking for us. We're that valuable. We're the treasure that God is looking for. And our flaws don't affect our value. And then the third truth we pull out is about evidence. Like, how do we know this is true? It's okay someone saying they're nice things about us, but did they really mean it? Is it really true that we're worth that much to God? How do we know how much we're worth? And the price of stuff is the value of stuff is the price you would pay for it. That's what they say, isn't it? I mean, I sometimes sell stuff on Facebook secondhand, and you have an idea of what it's worth, this much, that much, but ultimately it's only worth what someone will pay for it. That's how markets work and economics and that sort of stuff. So you're only worth the price that someone would pay for you. And we have this evidence that God just doesn't say he loves us, but Jesus came for us. It says in John 3:16, God loved us so much that he gave his only son, Jesus, who was most precious to him. He gave his son, who was perfect, to come and live a life and suffer on the cross and death so that we might get free. That you're worth so much to God that he would give his son for you. And so it's not just bland platitudes that God's saying, but actually he gave what was most precious about him. And whenever I've struggled with my sense of self-worth and how important I am, or maybe I think that I've done something wrong or I've screwed up and so I'm not as good a person, I'm not worth as much. Whenever I thought about that, I think about this story, and that whenever I'm lost and struggling, God is looking for me, and I'm so valuable to him that he wants to give Jesus for me. And whenever I remember that, actually that cleanses my mind, and that tends to fix my self-worth problems. And our identity, how we see ourselves, shapes our behavior, it shapes how we feel so much. And if that's an issue, you really want to watch this video next, because I talk about just this simple mindset shift on one basic truth that can change how we see ourselves, change how we feel ourselves, and can dramatically change our lives. So definitely watch that one next. Anyway, thanks for watching my channel, and I'll see you again soon.